Hello and welcome to tonight's show where we discuss all sorts of things. Mainly, is gravel biking just retro mountain biking?
Maybe. Hey, I got a question.
Yeah,
My microphone working tonight? I think it's on this time.
I think it's on. Let's see.
Last two shows, I started off.
Oh, you're starting the show.
And I need to start off turned on. I don't want to be off.
Let's see.
I don't want to be off.
Is Jason on?
Am I turned on?
Your microphone
That's the
is
question?
turned on.
Yeah.
Like and share in the comments.
Oh wait, are we
But
not
you
connected
didn't turn
tonight?
the speaker. We are connected. We are. But tonight's show, you had a big race this weekend.
I did a bike race.
A bike race.
Yes.
Was it on the road?
There were roads.
Was it on the mountain bike trail?
Nope. No mountain bike trails. Roads. There was a cow path.
Yeah.
There was a cow path. There was a section of high prairie. I don't know if it was high prairie. I don't know what you call it.
Oh.
Like where a rancher just cuts across a piece of ground consistently with their truck, but they've not made a road. A little section of that, I think. I think that's what.
What's it called? They just drive down a road.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of things. There's other places where the county of the state will make roads, but they're not made with
Sticky rocks?
bitumen.
Or stickiness?
No stickiness. They didn't stick the rocks together. They didn't do any rock gluing. They just sort of they toss them out like Johnny Appleseed.
In that business, we call that hot sticky rocks. They don't use the hot sticky rocks. They use the cold.
Just
non-sticky
no
rocks.
sticky rocks.
And if you haven't caught on, we are talking about
Cool kids are talking about gravel
gravel
racing, gravel riding. I don't know that you could call what I did racing. There's a bug.
Did you win a participation award?
No, I received a T-shirt for having paid an entry.
That's a participation award, dude.
But I got the T-shirt prior to participating.
Yeah, they were like...
So the T-shirt is for paying. Like you could pay your entrance fee, show up, get your T-shirt.
On the back?
I don't think so.
Sponsor is not a sponsor shirt.
Yeah, you get your T-shirt prior to participating. That's not a participating. That's just like you get. That's just value add for your money, is what that is.
You got a T-shirt.
I got a T-shirt.
I love
and a patch.
When events load up that event T-shirt with like 5,000 sponsors on the back.
Yeah. No, these guys do a great job. It's just I was looking for my patch.
Are those snacks?
That's some caffeine.
I can't do caffeine. I can't do
caffeine gel shots, baby.
So you did a race.
I did a race. I did what was supposed to be a 76-mile gravel race outside of Salida, Colorado. That involved about 7,000 some feet of elevation gain on it. So fair bit of elevation gain for the mileage done. All off-road other than the road leading out of town. And it took me a long time because I wasn't very good at it.
You were not good at the bike riding. What bike were you on?
Well, that's where we're getting after it. So this was a gravel race.
Yes.
All right. Gravel racing is a new-ish sort of bike riding and racing format.
It's like 5 years? I mean popularity.
Popularity-wise, yeah, in terms of being... Yeah, it's been longer than that a little bit, but like, yeah, the popularity has exploded in the last 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, it hasn't been around a super, super long time. I don't know... I kind of don't know where it came from. We should probably...
Kansas.
Is that where
People
it came
just
from?
riding those country roads in Kansas.
Roads in Kansas, and then they called it gravel riding, and then they're like, oh, wait, we need $10,000, $13,000 bikes to do this?
Yeah.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Well, the thing is road riders wanted to get away from F-350s So and ran
Those
dualies.
exist on the gravel roads of Kansas as well.
But I was gonna say that's the only place the F-350s and Dodge dualies drive is gravel roads for ranching.
Also all over Denver.
Yeah, but they actually drive
Southwest Denver.
slow on the gravel roads.
Right. In Southwest
won't
Denver,
kick-
they don't drive so slow.
They don't kick up the dust.
No. Okay, so yes, I did a gravel race. So 76 some miles, 7,000 feet of climbing,
76 miles.
and
How many feet of climbing?
7,000 some.
7,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah. I did it on a 1998 Trek 930.
Do you have a
Mountain
photo
bike.
that we can
I have a
show
photo,
the
not
people?
of the exact bike. We could bring it in if we wanted to. Let me find it. It is. So
Oh.
here's a photo of the. That's not the bike I rode. That's what the bike looked like when it was. So
Oh, hold
this
on.
is a photo of what the bike looked like. Pretty much with its stock build in '98. Hey, what you got on?
I had to replug it.
Replug it.
Replug it. We got a little bit of the darkness there. Let's see. Cut. Oh, it's still not coming up. Well, it's the Trek 930.
Yeah. Sorry, we're just catching up. We're just catching up.
Catching up. So the Trek 930 is retro mountain bike.
Yeah, it's a mountain bike. Yeah, from the 90s. I guess you could call it retro. How old does something need to be before you call it retro?
I think 20 years.
20 years makes something
Yeah.
retro?
Because in
Is
the
it-
2000s, people had 80s parties.
Does the bike need to, or the thing that's retro, does it need to have some characteristics about it to make it retro? Because I feel like retro and old are different things.
Here's
right?
the thing: is if it was vintage is 30 years. That's actually like vintage cars. There's a 30-year kind of rule. Actually, when you go to get it registered, you can get it registered as a vintage car at 30 years. So I think retro is 20 years, vintage is 30 years. That's how I'm gonna classify it.
I like it. I'm on board. Retro. So I wrote a. Are we still working?
I don't. Let's see if that worked. Are we getting the? Oh, there it is.
That's
There.
the bike I rode.
Look at
So
that.
it's a Trek 930
Judy
SRAM XT,
fork.
a Judy DH. In fact, because I only go big, baby.
DH.
Yeah, DH.
And DH was 80 millimeters back in the day.
Was
Maybe
it 80 or was it 100? I think
Nothing
the
was-
Indy that came on it was 80. Maybe. Well, we should look it up, right?
Should look it up.
Maybe.
There it is.
So I rode that bike. Why?
Was it to prove a point?
In a sense, I didn't really have a point to prove. Partly I wrote it for the attention because I can't get enough of that.
Yeah.
So point number one, and
You got a fair bit of attention.
in that regard, mission accomplished for
I
sure.
think. Do you think Trek Y frame, Trek Y22 or whatever, would have gotten you more attention?
It would have. It probably also would have sucked worse.
They pedal great if you sit down.
Just stay in the saddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't stay in the saddle.
You can't get this dog to stay in the saddle. No, sir.
So yes, I wrote it for the attention. I wrote it
Now,
not necessarily to make a point, but to experiment with and maybe address a point. And the point is this. If you do a Google search that says, are gravel bikes 90s mountain bikes,
okay, here we're gonna.
you're going to come up with no shortage of people talking about this very, very silly, ridiculous, unnecessary comparison. So ever since gravel biking kind of came on in pretty big popularity and people started racing it and the bikes became the biggest selling category out there, there have been a segment of people, pretty loud segment, obnoxious, saying, these new gravel bikes are just 90s mountain bikes. You're one of them.
Yeah, that's me.
I know. That's how I know they're loud and obnoxious.
I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, and you know
Yeah.
what? I don't like it. Whatever
like
it
it.
is.
So, I decided to do an event that's marketed specifically as a gravel event on a 98 Trek mountain bike and see how things went.
How'd they go?
So it's tough to actually say because my body was not up for the task
You tried to
in the
do
way I wanted it to be. So,
team out of the couch?
yeah, I did 160-mile bike ride prior to the event, the week prior, and that probably didn't help.
With that said, would
Yeah.
you have rather been on a gravel bike versus a 90s mountain bike?
I think I would have been a little faster on a modern gravel bike. Maybe would have put in a little less effort. Maybe the cramping that I experienced about mile 40 some would have maybe either been delayed or whatever, because I did ride the same event on a gravel bike a year ago with similar fitness issues and did not experience the leg cramping issues that I experienced this time. However, that said, we should probably make some comparisons between the two bikes and figure out why. Why are people saying these new bikes are just the same as 90s mountain bikes? Why are they saying that?
Why are they saying that?
You got any answer?
And I have one question.
Yeah.
Is your Trek 930 correct?
930, yes.
Is that similar geometry to what you would have ridden? Or not geometry, fit. Similar fit. How's the fit? Is it close to your gravel bike fit? I mean, because this is science.
So ultimately, no. And that's
Okay.
actually something I was gonna get to in a little bit, but you're
Jumping the gun,
you're
dude.
jumping the gun. So,
I would like to address really quick. Curtis Cole said that he rode his Diamondback Topanga full rigid down the bar trail at Pikes Peak in 2000.
is the bar trail at Pikes Peak a dirt road? What the fuck is it? Is it a dirt road? Is it a gravel race?
Dude, you should know what the bar trail is, apparently.
I have no idea what this trail is.
Dude. What's that one thing?
I assume he thinks that he's saying something, but it looks like nothing
It is Curtis Cole.
to me.
I
mean,
I rode
the
down.
Diamondback Topanga was a great bike. Good bike for the money.
Good.
I
Good,
mean, if you
solid.
were poor, fine.
I rode down Pikes Peak, the entire mountain, on a 26-inch hardtail. So,
Well, I rode all the. We've all done
so
a big trail on an old. I mean, I rode. Not.
it wasn't. It was an Instigator.
Oh,
So it was 26, but fat
but
tire.
a terrible bike.
It
I
did
think
some
it-
things okay,
yeah.
and it did some things horribly.
All right, Mr. Cole says that's the single track trail. Okay,
Oh.
so his
Well,
reference
yeah.
to riding a bike from the era that it's from, in the era that you lived, down a trail, basically is just like, yeah, people did that anyway. He
Yeah,
didn't-
that's what they did.
So, but that's what those bikes were. I mean, to his point, I guess that's what those bikes were meant for, right? You rode those mountain bikes, those 90s, early 2000s bikes, on every kind of mountain bike trail that you basically could, right?
Yeah.
I rode, well, I mean, are we going to talk about how cool we are here?
Chicken wings?
I mean, I rode all of the trails at Fruita, Mac, Grand Junction, on a not a Walmart, a Toys R Us. Toys R Us. What was the bike? Is a Rock Stomper, Pacific Cycles Rock Stomper.
Oh, Yeah.
So we've all ridden
You gotta get the
mean
wrong
trails
stomper out.
on shitty bikes
Now-
if we've been around mountain biking for a while.
Here's the question, though.
Yeah, here's the question of the night. Go.
Are minivans just the covered wagon of our era?
Sure.
Okay. So, let's get back on it.
Let's get back
I just want to freshen that up a little bit. A little laser time.
Yeah, 90s MTBs definitely rule. You can ride mountain bike trails on them. You can't do it. It's hard to do a lot with them. But I did 70-some miles on the mountain bike. And the reason I did it is because ever since gravel bikes came out, and I've done a number of gravel bike events. I don't know that I would call myself, maybe I am, a gravel bike rider. I don't love it. I just ride a lot of different kinds of bikes. I think it's a fun addition thing. And I've done this same event on a gravel bike a year ago. I've done an event called Grinduro, which is a gravel enduro. Yeah.
It's
Wrap your
never
brain
been
around
done.
that. It's only been done by one company because they trademarked the name. Yes, I've done a few, so I know what gravel races and gravel events are, and I've done mountain bike races as well. But ever since gravel biking came on, there's just been so many people that are like, oh, gravel bikes, you don't need to have these. These are just the industry. As if like the industry gets together and like plans all this stuff.
No. What the industry does is one person does it, and then they all jump on the bandwagon.
That is exactly what happens,
Yeah.
sure.
Like, oh, Specialized came out with a bike named Enduro 10 years ago. Maybe we should
then
name a sport that. And then yeah.
Yeah, after, and make it totally different than like the motorcycle version of it that's already done.
Yeah, it would just really irritate moto riders.
Because that's what we want. Because we don't do that already by just being in the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, their whole. I think the whole gravel bikes or mountain bikes just comes from a section of people who are very anti anything being new and anti anything being marketed to people.
I don't like
But
it.
everything is marketed to you all. Everything you buy has been marketed to you somehow along the way, somewhere, right? So get on board with it. It's
100%.
You can't escape it.
I think that there's a difference, though. Like, good marketing is that you can't tell that you're being marketed to.
Oh, so if you can see it,
Yeah.
if you see it coming at you and you're like, I see what you're doing. You're repackaging something that I've already been familiar with.
Not acceptable.
Okay, so let's get down to it. Are modern gravel bikes just 90s mountain bikes repackaged to sell us something new? Are they?
No.
I say no.
No, I
They
say
are
no
not.
too. But
But I thought you. Well, fine. Okay. Thanks for coming. We're done. That's
we're
it.
done.
All
Thanks
right.
for the show.
If you Google our gravel mountain bikes or the same as mountain bikes, people are gonna go blah 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 blah. Just listen to us. They're not the same thing.
They're not the same thing. But
Oh, there's a but.
there's a but.
Yeah.
They have similarities in geometry. And that's the funny thing.
That's
is
where things
gravel
start
bikes
to get interesting.
have started to be in the same realm, tire size and geometry, as gravel bikes. And that's where it's a little interesting.
Yep, that's true.
But 90s mountain bikes, I would not ride a 90s mountain bike on anything. Maybe to the bar. I might make it a bar getter.
All right. Well, shall we compare?
Yeah, let's compare.
All right.
Let me see.
I was able to find a photo of the geometry of my 1998 Trek 930.
This is not working. Let's see. Does it work now? No, it doesn't work. Well, let's read out the geometry.
Okay. Well, what do you want to start with? Head angle?
Yeah, head tube
Head
angle.
Head tube angle is a great one to start with. It really kind of tells you the whole personality of a bike by talking about head tube angle. Head tube angle on my 18-inch 1998 Trek 930 is 71 degrees. How do you feel about that?
That is steep.
Steep.
Super steep.
Steep. That's Joe Biden inflation steep.
That's So steep. I didn't
know.
know we were going down that road.
I don't know. I never know. I don't know what that means. So
because there's one person that controls absolutely every aspect of everything in the whole world.
Yeah.
Especially geometry.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
Fucking.
Is this Obama geometry?
Fucking
71.
fucking
head
William
tube angle.
Howard Taft. It's his fault.
Oh,
You go back, you'll see. All right.
Taft.
71 degrees, Taft. What a dick. All right. 71 degrees for a Trek 930. So I found a couple of other pretty common gravel bikes. One, the Santa Cruz Stigmata. Very popular bicycle.
Santa Cruz
Head
Stigmata.
tube angle is 69.5 degrees.
So
So
one
it's
and
a
a
little
half
more.
degrees.
It's slack.
1.5 degrees
A
slacker.
little more headed down to Rowdy Town
All right.
on the Stigmata. But if you go over
What's
to
the top tube?
Well, we'll get there. We're gonna look
Okay.
at the Ibis.
Ooh,
Haka.
Ibis.
Head tube angle on the Ibis Haka, 72 degrees. A full entire
Steeper.
degree steeper than my Trek.
So not quite up to date.
So
Fall a little behind.
a little more toward the. We're
You think
very
that bike's gonna
we're
be-
very serious. Pete. We're very serious.
Very serious. Is it? You think it's gonna be twitchy?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be twitchy?
Yeah.
It's
It'll
gonna
be
be twitchy. That's gonna be
Yeah.
a twitchy bike.
Yeah. Kind of.
All right. What's next on the geometry?
Well, you were gonna ask about top tube, right?
top tubes.
Top
Because
tube.
top tubes actually changed dramatically. That's a word I invented.
Dramatically.
It's dramatic and drastically.
Top tube length.
Oh, it's in millimeters. Isn't
Well, no,
it?
they have both. I was just like, I sorry, that was me being overcome with this, with a bit of a nostalgia because both inches and millimeters are listed here.
Whereas now they just do millimeters to
Yeah.
confuse all Americans.
Right, because we don't know what anyway.
Like, how much is 500 millimeters?
So
20
top tube on the medium. Wow, 580 millimeters,
What's that in inches?
22.8.
22.8. All right.
So for perspective, on a road bike, my road bike top tube ideal length is 54. So that's way longer. 580? That's crazy.
Yeah, the top tubes have gotten
mountain bike.
longer, and the stems have gotten shorter for more modern geometry.
No, this top tube is longer. 58.
58, 22.8
58 centimeters.
centimeters. Okay, and then what's the top tube
The
on?
top tube on a Stig medium,
Top tube
it's
length.
570. So it's a centimeter shorter.
Centimeters shorter. Interesting.
But that's mountain bike to gravel bike, which is
yeah.
interesting to compare.
Interesting.
The Haka is on a 53, which is probably what I would ride. Top tube length is 539. This shit's
that's
all over
pretty
the
short.
board. So maybe I should ride a 55, which is a 554. I did feel a little long on when I was in the ends of the bar ends on my bike ride.
You had bullhorns on there?
I had some Gary Fisher bar ends on there, baby. I did pull up the geometry for the Soma Wolverine, which was what my gravel bike was prior, and was the other one that I have over here that I could have actually ridden. So head tubing on that 71.5, exactly
0.5
0.5, yeah, steeper.
steeper.
Top tube is 555.
What's the bottom bracket height?
Bottom bracket height, well, let's see, drop is 70 millimeters.
Ugh, that's one thing I hate is drop versus from the ground.
70 on the Haka, 76 on the Stigmata.
I mean, I get why they do axle drop because
Right.
it changes with tire size, but it's also what is it from the ground?
The Trek, they don't have that. They just have standover. Oh, wait, no. What is E bottom bracket? 20.
So the
Somebody's
bottom,
coffee spilled on their thing. They took a photo of it.
So 11 millimeters is effective bottom bracket. So that's from the center of the bottom bracket to the ground.
To the ground.
And that's
So we can't
11.7, which is pretty low. You're gonna feel planted on that bike.
Planted. Definitely
Planted.
felt planted.
You're gonna feel like a walnut tree.
So, for perspective, pretty similar head angles. The Trek wildly longer in the top tube than a road bike that I would ride, than a gravel bike that I would ride, definitely than a mountain bike that I would ride. So, and I think I had a 100 millimeter stem on it. So,
And then tire size.
tire size. Well, I have 26 inches.
Yeah,
And I was running 2.2s basically.
but 2.2s would not have come on that bike from the era.
What came on it? And I think similar.
No, they were like 1.95s, maybe 2.0s.
Front? No, 2.1 IRC Mythos.
Oh, all right. I bought a Felt's cross-country bike in early 2000s, and that was 2.0 on the front and 1.95 on the back. So that is getting into the territory.
I remember
of,
buying 1.9s after my tires were out on this bike when I was in high school, and they were noticeably narrower than what had come on it.
Yeah.
This is a core memory for me.
core memory.
Don't mess with it.
Don't mess with it.
All right. So are they now? Okay. So head angle similar, top tubes. I mean, in the range. I mean, the mountain bike is not dramatically shorter. It's actually longer. C tube angle. Shall we take a peek? See. Let's take a peek.
What does the C-tube angle do? What does that do?
It does this.
Yeah. But what does it do for you riding? Because enduro bikes
I don't know.
have gotten real popular with steeper.
They do the steep one and then the slack one, and it's like that.
I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, okay.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Duh.
Okay. All right.
You could probably there's people we could ask.
We
There's
probably need to
people
ask.
we could ask and bullshit we could read.
Yeah.
It would probably not inform us all that much more. Anyway, seat tube angle on the Trek 930, 73 degrees. Okay.
All
Seat
right.
tube angle on the Santa Cruz Stigmata, 74 degrees. In this, pretty similar, just a
Pretty
touch,
similar.
just a touch steeper.
So pretty much the Santa
And
Cruz.
Haka 74. So yeah, Geo is, I mean, top tube length is the biggest difference, and actually the mountain bike is longer.
There you go. The Santa
Other
Cruz
things are similar.
Stigmata is just a 90s mountain bike.
Without a that you can buy one with a suspension fork now, I believe. Oh, that's the Haka.
Haka.
You can buy them with a suspension fork. So I had a suspension fork on mine, which came in real handy for just dominating the descents, passing people so fast so that they could only pass me again once it went back uphill.
So the one thing, geometry over wheel size. So we talked a little bit about geometry. One of the points I wanted to make was that I think more applicable for mountain biking, geometry has gotten substantially better to the style of riding that I would do. But especially in these days, a lot of people talk about wheel size. And I think geometry matters way more over wheel size.
I agree. But if geometry is for the style of event pretty similar, if you could take larger wheel size, would you?
Well, I'm
You
also a
would
bigger
definitely take that sweet drink.
I'm also a bigger fella. So for me, a 29 feels more natural as far as like how it fits my body and rides.
In the general size of the bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
But 29s back in the day with cross-country geometry were terrible.
They're awful.
They were terrible. And they did not start getting better till, well, there were some smaller manufacturers making 29-inch bikes that we're doing more aggressive geometry. And by more aggressive, I mean lower bottom bracket, shorter chainstay, slacker head tube angle, longer top tube, which made it way more fun to ride a 29 hardtail on anything. I mean, it felt like a big dirt jumper to like rip around.
Gotcha.
But on this, we're doing more distance. You're not being dynamic on the bike. You are in a static position, grinding that gravel.
Grinding it away down to dust, so that the people who find you are just behind you. They're just pedaling through sand by the time you ground it down. So I kind of want to. The geometry is similar. The way you could sit on the bike is kind of similar. The argument that that modern gravel bikes are just 90s mountain bikes can kind of be made, but it falls apart pretty quickly in a few respects. Would you like me to outline those for you? Because I'm more than fucking happy.
More than happy. Oh, we got
What's going on?
wheelbase.
90s? Oh yeah, we could.
What's
let's
the
take a look.
wheelbase?
Wheelbase is down here. Okay, so wheelbase, 18-inch Trek 930, 105.6 millimeters. No, 1,056 millimeters.
I was like, the wheels were overlapping.
1,056 millimeters.
41
for the
inches.
trek. 41 inches. Stigmata. They don't have wheelbase listed. Oh, there it is. 1063. So the stigmata is
20.
10. It's actually 7 millimeters.
7
longer.
millimeters longer.
7
And that's probably more for wheel size, actually.
7 millimeters longer for the Stig, and the
Because as you get bigger wheel size,
is
that fork's going to stick out a little bit more. You got to put a little bit longer chainstay. But actually pretty close.
Sheesh, the Hakka is 1011. It's
Tiny.
40 millimeters shorter.
I mean, all
on
of
the Hakka.
these are 1x, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you don't have to worry about a front derailleur. It's 1x. You can slam that front wheel in there, which I've been saying for years. Short chainstays. I love them. I love short chainstays.
So here's kind of my rundown of my experience with it a little bit. You can set yourself, if you know your fit and how you sit on a bike, you can set it up pretty similarly to go from a 90s or to a 90s mountain bike. If you've been on a gravel bike, you can make it work. You can set tire like style and pressure. I was running 26 by 2.2s with like 30 some PSI. Felt great. Tubes. I was running tubes. That all felt fine for the course I was on. But probably the number one, which is it was kind of a two-sided thing of one thing that I noticed the most in terms of my bike and making it more different is 175 millimeter long crank arms.
Oh, I was going to get into crank arm length.
So I know you were. I would beat you to it.
Because that's
So
a new thing
it's
that's turning its head again.
Well, but it's only new in a certain way because I have a really short legs. I have a 29-inch inseam.
Tiny little legs.
So I've been running short crank arms that are relative, 165 crank arms for a long time. 170 sometimes here and there. Never 175s on anything. Maybe I ran 175s when I was on that bike when I was a kid. I don't know what came on it when it was new in terms of crank length, but I could definitely tell pushing 175 crank arms that I was pushing 175 crank arms. Just
they're big.
Pushing these big and the feeling of the knee coming kind of higher up into my chest while I'm pedaling. I could totally notice that. The other thing, which is also a byproduct of the crank set, which is part of the consideration of the front derailleur, is running the triple sends the Q factor pretty wide as well.
Yep.
I'm also not a wide-hipped fellow, not with the childbearing situation here.
But hasn't bottom brackets gotten wider, even though they're not triple, What's the difference?
No, the bottom bracket length
Bottom
width
brackets.
on the or shell width on the mountain bike is 73.
Okay.
Gravel stuff's all running like 86.
Okay.
So, because it comes
So
from,
what's the key
because it comes
factor?
from road. I don't remember what it is exactly. All I can say is I definitely felt like I was wide pedaling a horse all day long. And it definitely felt that was noticeable. It was weird. So I think if I could run narrower cranks, but you'd have to run a one by, because again, then you're starting to change the entire bike. Then you're not running a 90s mountain bike once you've converted it to a one by. Once you convert it over to tubeless, once you start making all the changes, it's not a 90s mountain bike. I wanted to ride it as I could, right? So all the parts were from the era, ran tubes, so didn't try to accommodate anything to a modern consideration at all. And so, yeah, it was definitely awkward. Maybe sitting on a hippo a little bit more than just a horse. Just
wide.
Just wide stance pedaling the whole day. That might have contributed to my fatigue in my legs and my cramping situation that I had. So that's one of the big differences. Obviously, you could change that, but like you were saying, shorter crank lengths is a more modern thinking.
More better.
It's more better. It's more modern thinking.
So back in the day, especially coming from BMX background, people would run like 180s, like depending on what you're doing.
You want
It's
that
like,
leverage,
you
baby.
want that leverage.
180s
you know.
and 55 tooth chain rings.
The biggest. So now it's come around that shorter crank lengths are better, is what I'm seeing.
That's what people are saying.
That's what
and
the people
doing.
are saying.
Yeah.
But I
haven't
think it's-
experimented with like the uber short, like 150 or anything like that. I think 160, 165 has been really good for me for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money to try swapping out crank sets.
Yeah.
So, because they're expensive. If you buy a nice one.
70 range.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it is nicer, like especially in this area. There are some rocks in the Rocky Mountains, so having a little bit more clearance to get over stuff. I'd prefer a shorter crank, lower bottom bracket. 100%.
We got a question. What about the courses and routes that gravel bros and gals are riding? What would someone have used back in the 90s? Mountain bike or cyclocross? That's such an interesting question because I'm trying to imagine the kinds of bikes that existed.
People were just like, why would you go ride a gravel road?
Right.
Like, it just wasn't a thing. Maybe it was.
It was, but it wasn't a thing in terms of like bicycle competition so much. Because anything that was road bike racing took place on dirt roads for forever. I mean, we used to ride road bikes with 20 millimeter tires on dirt roads. Absolutely terrifying. And there have been races, all over the country, road bike races that incorporated dirt sections that people have ridden road bikes on for a long time. Now, they're riding those same courses on either gravel bikes or modern road bikes that are capable of running 30, 32, 35 millimeter wide tires. Totally different. So, but for this, try to imagine the same course that we rode on Saturday. What bike would I have chosen to ride? I honestly probably would have inclined myself more towards something like a touring bike.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like...
All right, because a touring bike from the 90s is going to run up to 35 millimeter wide tires, or it might be running 27 by 1.25, something like that. But they're going to have, wider reach caliper brakes.
That is a great point.
And a little bit wider tire and generally pretty low wide range gearing. That stuff's going to have to run off of a different shifting system, friction style stuff or whatever. But
Surly long haul trucker.
Yeah, something like that would definitely probably
The Trek. What is the Trek?
the 520.
The 520 that has not changed in like how many years? Like 30 years?
So I think a pure I think what we see as gravel racing now, in the 90s probably would have been better off on, something like variations of gravel or of touring or cyclocross bikes.
Because also, once you get down to some, like South America, where there aren't as many, or you might be on sections of gravel.
Yeah.
For the people that I've worked with on touring, it's like we're going to be on mainly gravel roads.
Yeah.
And rough terrain.
Mm-hmm.
But did that answer the question?
I think that's an answer to the question, but I don't think it necessarily is about wheel size per se. I think there was one. I did take note of all the bikes that were on course as I could. There was one guy, and actually was able to chat with him a fair bit, who was on. So my bike was a 98. He was riding an 89 Salsa touring bike.
Okay.
That had been kind of refit to run modern parts and stuff like that. So, his, I think it was, I don't know what model it was, but it was, basically a Salsa that could run, like center pull brakes. So he was running, I think, 38 millimeter tires, something like that. So,
do smaller wheels, so you were on a 26-inch bike, do those make you faster or slower? What's your experience?
I don't...
In the great debate of...
I don't think that I could tell exactly. The one thing I want to point out is a massive difference. I haven't read all these other ridiculous articles that people go on and on about all this stuff, so from my experience is all I'm going to talk to. The thing that I know of as a major difference, beyond wheel size, beyond geometry, bike weight. Yeah. My bike is a decent bike, triple butted steel frame, decent parts.
Triple butted.
Triple. Still weighed quite. I mean, it was still probably 28 pounds or so. My gravel bike that's a flat bar version, Soma, sitting right over here, probably is maybe 22.
Yeah, and one thing I would...
Or at the most. So, like, we're talking big weight difference.
Yeah.
That was noticeable.
A couple pounds.
Yeah. I mean,
especially
you start getting into the 5-pound difference on bikes, even though everything else kind of being equal in a sense. An old mountain bike, it's just not going to be as easy to ride. And that's where I noticed the weight of the bike quite a bit more than... And it didn't have... there's also an efficiency factor. Stuff nowadays is made so much better. Like, you can't just get up out of the saddle and just feel... Granted, there's better other mountain bikes. You could ride a light... You could spend all sorts of money, time, effort, and unnecessary, expense to try to have an extremely lightweight hardtail. But I had a decent one. But in terms of addressing the question, they're all the same. They're just 90s mountain bikes. They're totally not. Like, a decently priced...
I think
the... gravel bike now is still going to be pretty decently lighter than, an okay mountain bike from back then.
I think the argument is more of that geometry is very similar, tire size is very similar, but definitely components are not. I mean, just the difference between solid axles and quick release.
Right.
I feel that, like cornering, quick release flexed. Like, I could feel a difference when I went from a quick release bike to a solid axle bike, for sure. Huge difference in stiffness for cornering or, ripping, jumping. So wheel size, where are we at? I was going to say wheel size 27.5 versus 26. You feel any faster, any slower?
I mean, I couldn't tell. Like I said, what I could tell was that bike was pretty heavy. It didn't have that light, fast feeling that I'm kind of used to from gravel bikes that I've owned, which are decently light bikes. So.
One thing I find interesting is not only overall bike weight, but wheel and tire weight. Huge difference. Mm-hmm. A couple hundred grams in spinning weight makes the bike handle differently, and also if you're pushing it uphill, it's different. I did a test This is more on the jumping side of things, but I rode a heavy set of wheels and an extremely light set of wheels for a jumper. And cool thing about heavy wheels is they give you more stability. So the bike's not as twitchy. So it feels a little bit smoother doing stuff, you know? Light wheels, a lot twitchier, but easier to throw the bike around for like doing tricks.
Tricks.
Maybe not as applicable.
Sendy.
Yeah, applicable. Doing the bar spins.
Yeah.
Like doing a bunny hop 360. Way easier on light wheels. But wheel weight is huge. And
well,
tire weight.
that's where I've noticed it a lot because the wheels on that bike with wire bead 26-inch tire. I mean, there's a lot of in tubes. There's a lot of weight going on there that you're just
pushing,
pushing, and and my gravel bike is nothing particularly expensive, but still quite a bit lighter. So,
okay,
that's a big difference. Oh, one other thing.
Lay it on me, Big Papa.
One other thing that I'm going to say is a massive difference that I know to be true. I know it. Can't argue with me. Aerodynamics are real. Zero aerodynamic features to my setup.
Were you just catching wind like a sail?
And
did you listen to any yacht rock?
Dude, I was sitting behind some people here and there trying to suck wind where I could, but dude, anytime I pulled back out, it felt like every single piece of air was I just like grind to a halt. There were times where I stopped and checked to see if my brakes were dragging. I checked my wheel bearings the night before and everything like that. All that stuff was fine. Just zero aerodynamic benefit to that bike at all. I'm 100% sure makes a difference.
Are you sure you haven't taken your bike in for service at Wheat Ridge? Burn!
Yeah. No, I know I haven't because all my bearings still worked.
Burn. I was going to say, the next question on my list of questions is...
I'm ready. What is it?
Can you mountain bike on a gravel bike?
Yeah.
Now the vice versa.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've been on the trail and been passed by people on gravel bikes.
We've had this conversation. My only experience riding the Rutabaga Trail has been on a gravel bike.
Yeah, but you can't keep up with Papa Nick on the downhills.
On my gravel bike?
Yeah.
No.
Still got it.
Still got it, baby.
Still got it.
I can still do it.
Yeah, it can be done.
I don't walk
Actually, yeah, Rutabaga, there's a couple rocky sections I'd be sketched out on a no suspension drop bar bike.
Yeah, it's
not ideal.
It's doable. Not ideal. I never said it was. I would never say it was. But you said, can you? And I am here to say, yeah, dog, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a lot. Especially Green Mountain. If you're looking to hit up the Montaña Verde, I think if you say it in Spanish, it sounds substantially better than Green Mountain.
So here's the question you're really asking.
Yeah.
Are you into underbiking?
What is underbiking?
So if you're asking about using gravel bikes on mountain bike trails, what you're asking about is what is now called underbiking.
This is the new fad, everyone.
Y'all know about this stuff? Guys, I Googled it. What is underbiking? Underbiking is basically riding more technical terrain than your given bike is suited to handle.
That's been part of my career.
It's exactly like regular biking, only with insufficient equipment.
Sounds irresponsible.
So go biking and ride a piece of shit bike. I have a problem though, and this is
why don't we just call it raw dogging?
Dude, this is where the therapy part of this show comes in. Is I have an admission to make.
What'd you do?
Well, I think I'm into underbiking.
Now, is there a flip side? Can we take like a downhill bike on a gravel ride? Overbiking.
That's still underbiking.
No, insufficient. It said the definition was insufficient equipment for the ride.
Yeah, but a downhill bike
is overbiking.
Is terrible at pedaling.
Yeah.
Which makes it insufficient for a pedaling dominant activity.
Oh, now We're getting philosophical.
No, this is not
Philosophical.
philosophical.
But on the downhills, it would be super planted. I've tried to use
but
super
not in an advantageous way.
Oh, now we're using big words.
Yeah,
like,
dog.
Like advent courageous.
Advan courageous.
So underbiking is a new thing. We wanted to address.
It's not a new thing. It's just something that
Now has a category.
it has a category because the fucking internet and social media exists, and everybody has to tell everybody what they're fucking doing all the time, and then other people have to try to do it. And
Trying to keep up with the Joneses.
I look at underbiking people, and I'm like, they're just trying to get attention, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck, that's fucking me, and I'm trying. I don't want.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to be the cool guy. This is what single speed people have been forever.
Now, if you
Single
smoke,
speeding is underbiking.
yeah.
I will. I said it here.
Have you ever smoked a cigarette at a start line?
Ooh, I have not.
'Cause that
ever even
would be-
smoked a cigarette.
Underbiking.
That would be underbiking. Because the equipment. Well,
Like-
wait. Showing up to a 76-mile gravel race with one 60-mile bike ride in your legs, also underbiking. Because the equipment is still insufficient.
Yes, sir.
I have done underbiking before, and I didn't know that that's what I was doing. And now that I know that that's what people do, I look back and I used to ride.
I would underbike with my gear because I don't like most cycling gear, to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, bike shorts, I get it, but I put just regular shorts over it.
Yeah, I'm
And
similar. Regular shorts,
I
a
don't
t-shirt. 'Cause
really
I think
want-
most biking gear is unnecessary. Like you don't wicking material. It's a whole nother show. Wicking material, who needs it? Nobody cares.
I mean, dude, t-shirt still works.
T-shirt, yeah. It's
Uh,
oh no,
I don't-
it's not gonna dry. Like, why does it need to fucking dry like immediately? What's
'Cause you
happening?
don't live in
What's
the South.
happening? What
We
is
live-
happening?
we live in like 27% humidity. So that doesn't
Yeah,
work. That marketing doesn't work for us. But I also don't want to look like a superhero when I'm out for a
You
mountain
look
bike
like
ride.
a superhero to me, no matter what,
I don't
baby.
want all the stripes and shit. So I underbike my
Well,
outfit.
I have for a while too, and now underbiking gear is all the things. Like, oh well, everything becomes a thing. So I used to ride in 2000.
You have to say, back in my day.
Back in my day, probably about 2006-ish, I took a steel specialized. It was just a hybrid bike, right? You know what a hybrid bike is? 700C wheels, but ran canny brakes. And I rebuilt it as a fixed gear, because it was 2006. You rode a fixed
Yeah.
gear. I rode a fixed gear cyclocross bike on Green Mountain
That's perfect. How'd it go?
and North Table. I did it.
How were your knees?
They're still there. But here's the thing: I don't look back on that like regularly and think that was such fun.
That was amazing.
I've never been going around since then. I've never been going around being like, hey, you know what you should try? You should try riding a fixed gear with 700 by 32 knobby tires on a shitty mountain bike trail.
I love it.
Nobody
I
wants to.
love it.
Dude, no.
Dude,
you don't
fixed
need
gear.
to do that.
Okay.
Don't waste your time underbiking. Ride the bike that you're gonna have the most fun. Life is short.
Stunted.
Ride the bike that is gonna give you the most fun in the shortest amount of time.
Drop handlebars on off-road.
It's fine.
It's fine. I've done it.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Is underbiking faster?
Now,
No. What is fast? No.
cross
Because
bike.
you have to think about fast in a holistic way.
Oh shit, we're getting spiritual.
No, holistic just means in entirety.
Whole in entirety. Yeah, but
Yeah. Right.
you know what it's you're gonna get into
I'm
Ayurvedic
just-
cycling.
No, I'm just saying from the start of the trail to the end of the trail. You got to think about the whole thing. So underbiking is going to be not fast. And is faster the definition of fun? I would say no.
See, what's the definition of is? Okay?
That all depends.
It all depends.
Nope.
Okay, difference between gravel bike and cross bike.
Tire size, some geometry. Mostly tire size.
Yeah, little geometry.
Yeah.
I think cross bike. Well, here's the thing: is I've never ridden true road bikes. I've always just bought cross bikes because I want fat tires.
This early cross-check does not count as a cross bike.
No, I had the Kona.
Jake the Snake?
Yeah, I had a Jake the Snake. I've
Snaky
had
Jake.
A Specialized cross check. Yeah, those are two. And I would do back when I lived in North Carolina. I would ride that on the mountain bike trail because the mountain bike trails where I lived were pretty boring.
Sounds like they were cyclocross trails.
They were almost gravel. I mean, if you put gravel on them.
Cyclogravel?
Cyclogravel.
Cyclogravel trails.
You heard it here first, dudes. So Specialized is going to hear this because this is what they do. And then they
Right.
come out with the Cyclo gravel bike,
Cyclogravel, yeah.
the Psycho Billy.
Well, you know what the precursor to the gravel bike was?
What?
The Monster Cross bike.
What is the Monster Cross bike?
So prior to gravel bikes, you had cyclocross, but cyclocross could only run 33 mil tires, 35 at the most,
Yeah,
right?
tiny little tires.
Right? She's fast.
I wouldn't even ride that on a velodrome.
You gotta just like cyclocross is all about like just shredding as much anger and disappointment out of yourself as you can in a short amount of time.
Like Pantera song.
Yeah, exactly. That's cyclocross racing.
Okay.
But there was a little sliver of time, and that's oddly enough where my Soma Wolverine comes from. Prior to gravel biking really taking off, was a little section of people who rode something called Monster Cross, which was basically cyclocross bikes that could run sometimes up to 2-inch wide mountain bike tires.
Okay.
Now, another certain set of people caught on to this, and they decided, you know what we could do with these bikes? We can load up a bunch of our shit on them and go camping.
And then
And they started bike packing.
bike
And
packing
so you had
was
this little
born.
kind of overlap of cyclocross, monster cross, and then these other people were like, well, we don't want to go fast. We just want to like smoke weed, do mushrooms, and make craft coffee in the woods.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what you do. AeroPress. It's called the AeroPress, dude.
yeah, or you filter it through, you know,
Old sock?
an old sock or an array of leaves and bark.
Charcoal filter.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Charcoal filters are actually not that hard to make. You just use charcoal.
and filter it.
Yeah, and filter it. That's
There you
it.
go.
There you
All
go.
right. There you go, kids. That's all for tonight.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
What were we talking about? Oh, so we were talking about Monster Cross, which then made me think of Monster Jam, which made me go on a whole side quest in my own mind about monster truck racing. But
They don't race monster trucks.
it's a race through a course.
Is it?
It's timed.
Is it a race?
I don't know.
I thought it was a demonstration.
Okay, why don't we just ride comfort bikes for gravel?
Because the sitting position of a comfort bike is not advantageous to performance.
But where is the balance of performance and comfort?
Right about there.
If you're not seeing this, it is 32 degrees.
It's right about there. This, not so much performance. This, performance for a while, but it dips unless you are very good at it. So if you're in here, very
Most
good.
premium.
It's the best. Right in there.
Oh. All right.
This is where we need the bike fitters. So we can come shit on their whole industry.
Dude, will
Again.
172.5 cranks make me faster?
If you believe,
If you
can.
believe.
Absolutely. It's all about a matter of belief.
So, any last words?
My last words is just my final thoughts on
Final
the,
thought.
on the 90s mountain bike in a gravel race. Weight and aerodynamics and fit/biomechanics are really the biggest differences and the biggest problems.
Yeah. I don't
But
think.
once you start to change all of those things, then you have a modern gravel bike.
Actually,
You drop the weight, you increase the aerodynamics, you make it fit you just right. Boom, you have a modern gravel bike, and that's not a 90s mountain bike. They're close, but they're just not the same.
I do have to ask, about the gearing. How did 8-speed do?
8-speed did fantastically well. Having that triple chainring helped a lot.
Saved your butt.
Now I didn't do the gear calc to figure out what the 2232 on my bike was compared to the 4042 that I have on my gravel bike.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. But you have, like, with a triple, you have a lot. You got a lot of range in there.
Yeah.
Because
I
you have
used
like
it
a
all.
22 tooth.
22
tooth on the
Okay,
small, and then
on
44.
So we'll actually we should address the gearing thing a little bit, because to be quite honest, the gearing thing was very much not a concern at all.
Like I had enough.
Well, I had it. Well, I had enough. But also dealing with it was fine. Like I didn't mind shifting the front derailleur. Who cared? Like it was.
It's
not
not
a big
electric.
Deal. It's not electric. So the range was there. I just had to shift it. So it's like, and I didn't even have a clutch on my derailleur, so it made some noise while I did some descending.
Was it like this?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because that's one thing. Like every year, derailleurs, the new thing comes out. 12 speed,
We've
13
got out
speed.
13 speed, which is basically they brought it out for the gravel crowd. The 13 speed SRAM Red, they introduced it for the gravel crowd.
But the one thing that I give a fuck about, like, I don't give a fuck about, is like I don't care. Like if it's 12 speed or 13 speed.
No, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But again,
but you rode this on 8 speed.
I rode on 8 speed, 8
That's
by
8
3
gears in the back.
But if we connect my other like comments and thoughts from before, though, that triple requires that wide Q factor, which I felt was uncomfortable. So running a 1x can let you run, a narrower crankset, which can be, I'm used to it. It's more comfortable to me now. So running that wide is not great. Plus, it's the modern bikes that have the aerodynamic benefits built into them that let them run those bigger 700 by 50 tires now. Once you start doing that and you don't have a front derailleur, you've got the space to be able to do that on the frame. So it's not just one thing. It's not just comparing this thing to that thing, because so much about how the bike is made is considered holistically.
Yeah, and I think, for me, the biggest things are, just quick release. Like going from quick release to solid axle is huge. Like the benefit, you don't realize it till you ride a bike back to back, where you ride a bike with, and I did this, when Santa Cruz did their single pivot bikes for a little while, in the mid 2000s, it was like 2015, not mid 2000, but 2015, 2016, they came out with, I'm totally blanking on the name, but they came out with 2 bikes.
Bullet.
No, not the Bullet, after the Bullet.
Bullet was
way after the Bullet.
Single pivot early.
Yeah. Did they
redo the Heckler?
The Butcher.
The Butcher, that's right. That's right.
So the Butcher was quick release. Front and rear, quick release bike.
Yeah.
I went from that, I might have had through axles. I went from that to a bike with through axles and noticed a huge difference. I went back and forth on the Butcher, and then I had a Noli in that time period. But huge difference. And that's mountain biking, but like still like just cornering and maneuvering the bike. Solid axles all the way for me.
Yeah.
And then disc brakes. We haven't even talked about disc brakes.
Well, I'm going to be in the situation here where I felt like the brakes were largely irrelevant for this event.
Okay.
Gravel racing, my experience with so some gravel races, I'm going to back up a sec. A cool thing about gravel racing is the courses can be so wildly different from one to the other. They can be as boring as Kansas and Nebraska straights and squares, right? Or they can be as I did one in California that was double track, but it's basically like 4-wheel drive road type stuff. So not mountain bike single track, but definitely not just a dirt road. Wide range of stuff that you can do. So Your braking requirements are going to change depend on the event. Now, they all come with disc brakes now. That's fine. In this event that we were in, I didn't feel like disc brakes would have benefited me anywhere at all. All right, most of our descents were pretty wide and pretty swoopy. All you had to do was slow down enough so you didn't blow the corner. That's it. So you never needed to like shut it down quick.
Or long descents where you're
Yeah,
on the
or
brake.
real long descents where you're where you're
Interesting.
And I had no, well, it's just on V brakes and no arm pump. And the final descent actually was 3,000 feet descent. So moving pretty fast, but again, pretty low grade. So I was pedaling most of it, just trying to go as fast as I could. And then you come to a corner and you just hit the brake just enough to get through. So disc brakes, not an issue.
Okay. There you go. I mean, disc brakes only come in when you have to brake. But I do love me some disc brakes. I mean,
Right.
I started in the industry when there was the big debate. Like, people would come in and be like, should I do disc brakes or should I do V brakes? And it was like, disc brakes are kind of awesome, man. You should just do disc brakes.
Disc brakes are great. The way that the brakes, so the brakes obviously have more power. And now that the brake levers are made in such a way that they're designed with their ergonomics around single finger braking.
Oh, okay.
So that was actually a thing that I had to deal with on my bike on the weekend was those old V brakes were designed around 2-finger like thing. If you run them far enough in to where you could 1-finger, it just was awkward, didn't quite work. And so, and then the shifters would be all the way, there was a whole, getting everything exactly where you wanted it. So if you wanted to 1-finger brake, didn't quite work. So I had to find myself on that bike this weekend doing the middle finger braking. So you're gripping here and braking there because of where the brake levers had to be. So, which is a little awkward. It still gives you a little bit better grip than 2-finger braking for sure. But modern brakes, even drop bar disc brake stuff, are designed such that you can grab it with one brake and you've got enough power to be able to still grip the bar, control the bike, and hit the brake to the amount that you need it. So
at the end of the day,
disc brake, that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, it's not just about the disc brakes in a category being better. There's a whole situation about them, how they're made, how they're intended to be used, that makes them better. It's not just that disc brake better, rim brake not better. Like there's more that goes into it.
I mean, disc brakes are better. Like if you buy the cheapest disc brakes possible, some like garbage mechanic.
Right, but they're better partly because of all the things I just said. Like they're designed to be able to, they work better. Again, because they're taking the fact that there's more power to them, and that then you can.
There's
use
also
it
other
a little bit
benefits.
better.
To
Yeah, well,
disc
you can
brakes.
use it a little better just in terms of how you design
you break
the
a spoke.
handlebar. Yeah.
I mean, you break a spoke. You're not running, rubbing your rim all day. That's a big one. You can run cable, or you can run mechanical. Or mechanical or hydraulic. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, plus disc brake makes it easier to run tubeless tires and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, back in the day, if you were doing a big descent and you're heating your tires up, you gotta be careful.
Correct.
Explode your tire from rim brakes.
Yep.
We don't think about that stuff anymore.
No, not so much.
Because we got disc brakes. They're awesome.
Is gravel biking just retro mountain biking?
Is it?
It's not.
I still kind of think it is. I think because you could ride any retro mountain bike.
What
Trail. Let's go retro mountain biking.
I think retro mountain biking should be retro mountain biking. I agree. Kate, I've done it.
But you could do all the trails on a gravel bike. Same bike. Or on a gravel bike you could do on a retro mountain bike. Would be another argument.
Right. You could do it on a touring bike. You could do it on a road. You can do it on so many bikes, but it's worse.
I still
a
think
90s mountain bike is as close as it gets, but it's still not great. It's still not as good. Still not as good as the modern gravel bike.
Still not as good.
No.
Yeah, the modern gravel bike's way better.
Right. So if we're saying is gravel biking just retro mountain biking, you're saying they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. Just because you can ride a retro mountain bike on
Yeah.
a gravel course doesn't mean it's as good. It's no way it's as good. You could ride a downhill mountain bike on a gravel course. It's going to
could.
suck.
It's going to be terrible.
You can do it. So is gravel biking just downhill mountain biking on flats? Ooh.
What if
Yes,
we put an
is.
electric motor on the bike?
That sounds like a great category. I'm all for it. What I love about this category is, okay, here we go. Yes, downhill mountain bikes. We got a new race system coming up. Downhill mountain bikes with electric motors on it. You have to ride up the road, up to the top of the mountain.
Up that road.
You get to come down the mountain whatever way you want.
What do you mean? Like
Let's say it's
like in drag or
well, sure. I'm just
Like-
saying course wise. So the race is you start at the bottom of the mountain, you ride up the road,
yeah. Right.
and then you have to ride back down the mountain, back to where you started, but you get to come down any way you want.
Oh, like free ride.
Yeah.
All right, we're starting a new sport. Don't tell Specialized.
Yeah. They're gonna steal it from us.
They're gonna steal it. We come up with the good ideas, dude. That's what the people want.
It is what the people want. It's what it's all about.
Well, I hope this
Let
was
it go.
at least entertaining.
Thanks for joining us
Thanks for joining us.
and suffering us through this. It's
Yeah.
a conversation that we knew we were gonna have to have at some point, and we're probably not gonna have it again.
Ever. So
we
good
don't
night.
we don't do a lot of gravel bike content here.
Gravel bike. Maybe we should.
only-
If this video gets 100,000 views, we will be a whore to the algorithm.
We will definitely be gravel.
We'll
bike
be
therapy.
like next week. We'll be like, gravel biking's so cool.
what's better, 42 or 45 millimeters? Check in next week.
Check out these cool gravel cleats I got.
Oh wait, are you still riding non-gravel bar tape? Well,
You need gravel bar tape because it's got little bits of panther in it.
yeah, panther blood.
Real panther.
Yeah, panther. these panther hair saddles are what you need.
Panther. It's carbon fiber, dude. All right. Well, that's going to end
Thank
our
you.
show.
We love you all.
And
Have a great night.
next week, join us for the Gravel Pantheon.
Pantheron.